I can't believe what just happened. Gukesh is an absolute clutch. Clutch. So Team India is taking on China at the Olympiad. 3 games end in a draw, and it all comes down to Gukesh's game on board number 1. If Gukesh wins, Team India wins. If Gukesh loses, India loses. If Gukesh makes a draw, the game is drawn. When I saw Gukesh's position, it looked completely equal. But then magic happened. It's like when Rohit Sharma tosses the ball to Bumrah to ball in the death, and Bumrah balls maiden in the death. How does Bumrah do it? We don't know. But is it fun to watch? Absolutely. Something similar happened in this game. So let's dive right into it. Gukesh opened with e4 and black played c5. By the way, we had some drama before the match began. Gukesh was going to play against Ding Liren of China, the current world champion. However, Chinese team decided to give a rest to Ding Liren. Now, many are saying that it's because Ding was, afraid to play Gukesh and he was in a bad form. However, I think more or less the reason is Wei is a tougher opponent for Gukesh to face. Wei is a player who had defeated Gukesh in the 2024 Tata Steel tournament in January. So it makes sense for the Chinese team to field him against India's top board. So we have the Sicilian. Gukesh plays knight f3 and chooses a very weird move, bishop e2. The usual move is to go d4 and play the open Sicilian. Gukesh plays bishop e2, and after e5 he goes bishop c4. So he moves his piece twice in the opening. By the way, if you are under 1500, please don't try this, okay? It's like you're breaking very simple opening principles. Gukesh does it because, he knows when to break the opening principle. So please don't try this if you're playing with white. The main point of playing bishop e2 and then bishop c4 is, if you go bishop c4 here first, black plays e5 and kind of e6, and blunts this bishop. So that's why Gukesh first went bishop e2, and after e5 was committed here, he went bishop to c4. Black continued his development with bishop e7, and both players continued to develop their pieces. Gukesh gave up the bishop so that he could gain control of this f6 d5 square, knight d5, bishop e6. And in this position, it all looks equal. But now after the move king h8, black has a very interesting plan. You'll soon see what that plan is. Okay, but there is a very interesting plan that black has. Gukesh plays a3, black goes rook b8, Gukesh plays h3, and now black plays the move g6. And the plan is to simply put his bishop back on g7 and push this pawn to f5. And the idea of king h8 is to just get this king away from any tactics that would have been on this diagonal. Now Gukesh plays the move c3. However, this turns out to be a slight inaccuracy. It would have been better to, take this bishop, and play bishop e6 according to the engine. However, in this game, it would just fizzle out to a draw since there is not a lot of imbalance left in the position. However, Gukesh chose the move c3, a slight inaccuracy. And now black is the one who really starts to, take control of the game. First, he goes bishop g7. Gukesh goes bishop a2, and now there comes f5. Whenever you have these two bishops, you always want to open the position, which is exactly what Wei is trying to do with the black pieces. Now Gukesh goes knight g5, Wei plays bishop g8, e into f5 happens, g into f5. Now there comes the move f4. Wei finds the move c4 here, and after take bishop c4, the engine says that black has an advantage. And for someone like Wei, who's well known in such dynamic positions, it would have been a move that he would have found quite easily. But I think, he was maybe a little bit under pressure. He played e into f4. Not the best move. It would have been better to go e4 here. The main point is you are able to control the center with the black pieces. And then slowly, these bishops, they will turn out to be very, very dangerous as the game goes further. Okay, so e4 was the better move to play here. However, Wei didn't play that. He went e into f4. This knight is attacked. So Gukesh saved it with knight f3. Black went knight a5, attacking the bishop. The bishop dropped back. Now there comes knight b3, forking the rook and queen. Gukesh had to take, Wei took, and there is knight f4. And all of a sudden, the black's advantage is gone, and the position kind of fizzled out. Now comes queen b6 check. The king is attacked. Rook f2, rook b8, and it looked like, this game is heading towards a draw. Black takes the pawn. We have few pawn exchanges, a5. Yeah, and this kind of looked very equal and drawish. Gukesh plays the move knight to d5. Now the threat here is to play knight e7 and take this bishop. So Wei went rook b1 check. Gukesh went king f2 and played rook d1, pinning this knight. And here one variation I saw is rook c8, to which black takes this knight back, rook takes c3, and this is an equal position. But Gukesh in this position didn't go for that. In fact, he was even more ambitious and he played the move rook takes, king takes and knight takes e3. Now, when I first saw this position, I was really worried for Gukesh because this is a rook, and a rook is a very, very powerful piece in the endgame. At the same time, these knights, they are very poor defenders of pawns on the edge of the board. Okay, so for example, if let's say we remove white's pawn here and this pawn starts running, white could be in some serious trouble very quickly because the knights cannot defend effectively against the rook pawn. But from this point onwards, the magic begins. The magic of Gukesh really begins. First, Wei here plays rook c1, Gukesh plays knight b5. Now this knight at least keeps this a3 pawn protected. Rook c2 check happens. Now the king just goes to f1. Anytime you attack the knight, there is this other knight jumping to protect it. And the interesting part is the knight defends the pawn and the knight also defends this pawn. These knights kind of self-protect each other and keep the pawn protected. So it's never that this pawn is going to die anytime soon. King f7 was played by black. Gukesh went knight fd4, attacking the rook. There comes rook c1 check, king e2, and both players kind of shuffle their pieces for a few moves. And Gukesh is what he's kind of doing is he's slowly improving his position. He's slowly pushing a pawn. Then if he gets a chance, he's trying to get his king forward. He's trying to provoke something. He's slowly improving the position, but this position is still drawn because there are very few pawns. If there are any more pawn exchanges, the game is most likely heading towards a draw. And now there comes knight d4. Rook d8 happened, pinning the king. Gukesh went out, take here. And now rook h1. And now things really start to heat up from this point onwards. So first of all, this pawn is attacked. How do you defend it? Gukesh played the move knight f3 check, which is accurate. In fact, if he had gone a move something like h4, it would not be so accurate because black has the move f4 here. It kind of becomes easier for black to hold from this point on. So Gukesh found the precise knight f3 check. And now once again, black Wei found the best move with king to d6. Okay, this is like the top engine choice. Let me tell you, both players are down to a few minutes. Gukesh has like 3 minutes, Wei has 4 minutes. So both players are in time pressure. They don't have a lot of time to calculate the moves. But still they are finding all the best moves. King d6 happens. h4 is played. Wei plays rook h3. Once again the top engine choice. Knight e2 defending the pawn. Now Wei goes f4. Once again the best move. The more the pawns get traded, the closer black is to a draw. Knight fg1 attacking the rook. The rook goes to h1. And now there comes g into f4. Wei takes this h4 pawn. And now all of a sudden this h pawn is ready to run. However, there is one more asset that white has. Knight f3 was played, attacking the rook. The rook dropped to f1 and now f5. This f pawn is the asset. This is the only hope for white that can, help white win this game. h5. Black's h pawn also starts running. Now Gukesh plays the move knight c3 and slowly, Gukesh's hope is that somehow these knights can help this pawn reach f8 and become a queen. This is the whole point. This is the whole game plan for white. Knight c3 happens. h4. Gukesh goes check. Pushes the king back. Once again, king d7 is like the top engine choice, the best move. So we have to give it to Wei. Credit to him for finding the best defense. Knight e5 check, attacking this king. King d8, f6. And now it's very hard to find the right move for black. Black had to find the only defense in the position, which he doesn't. The only defense was to play rook d1 check. Very, very unnatural move. Very unnatural. You move this rook away, and also another thing is after king e2 the rook is attacked, so it kind of is not a very natural move to play. However, the point is that you want to disrupt the balance of this king, pull the king away from these knights, so that in the future you can attack one of the knights and kind of get your rook behind this f pawn. Very complex idea. I'm not going to go into the details of the lines, but this is what should have been played by black. This was the best choice. However, in the game, black went h3 and this is a blunder. But again, from here on, if Gukesh has to win, he has to find the only moves, the only precise moves that win in the position. He can't find the second best move. He can't find the third best move. f7 was played. Now this pawn is queening. Good move. Rook f1. The rook stops the pawn. But now comes knight g5. And now suddenly the point is, after h2, which is what happens in the game, one of the knight drops back. And there is a threat to make a queen here. So if there is, let's say black makes a queen here, there is going to be a white queen. And the problem for black is that there is a check. And once the king moves, this queen and this knight are able to checkmate this black king, because the black king is just too exposed in the position. So Wei doesn't go for that. Instead, after this, Wei stops this pawn from going to f8 with king e7. But now Gukesh is able to take this h2 pawn and he's a pawn up. Now, at the same time, the rook is attacked. So Wei decides to move his rook and target this pawn. And once again, there is only one way for white to continue here. Both players, in fact, are down to minutes, like minutes and seconds on the clock. But once again, Gukesh is able to find the best move in the position. He goes knight to g4. The only move, the only winning move here. There comes rook a3 check, asking this king where it is going to go. Once again, Gukesh finds like one of the only moves for him to able to hold this position. He goes king d2. Now there comes rook into a4, grabbing this pawn. And now there comes this knight h6. Beautiful move. The threat is to go knight h6, and this knight will now protect this f8 square and help it to become a queen. This knight is now doing the job of protecting the f7 pawn. So black gives rook a2 check. Okay, remember, black can't go rook f4 because knight g6 would check the king and win the rook. So rook a2 check was played, hitting the king. The king went to e3. Now there comes rook a3 check, once again asking this king where it is going to go. And that is king to e4. The main point is you don't basically want this rook to ever get on this f file. The threat for white is to go knight g6 check and make a queen. Seeing that there is no way to defend this, Wei resigned and Gukesh won the game. So what looked like a completely drawn position, Gukesh was able to turn that game around because he chose to fight. And with that, he has perhaps scripted one of India's greatest moments in the chess Olympiad.